So I've got this old Kubota ARX 6500 generator. It's got 220. It's got the idler on it. Pretty decent little machine. I bought it brand new in 2000 during Y2K because we all thought the world was coming to an end. It's got 483 hours on it, and I thought, you know, I'm just gonna see if I can get this old beast going. It has not been running since 2012, and it was in my grandparents' generator shed for a good number of years in case the power went out. And we would keep the house running, keep the freezers running. It even ran the furnace they had to an extent, the HVAC, but kind of put a drain on it. But it's a decent little machine. I couldn't get it started the other day. I put in a new plug, drained the gas, put in some ethanol-free gasoline, and then had to take this little bolt out of the bottom of the carburetor there, and it's got a little port in it, little jets, and it's also got a little in the bottom of this little nut right there. It seats in there pretty well. It's got a place for a little rubber O-ring, and the one that was on it was just completely demolished. I tore that off. The holes were completely gummed up. The fuel that came out of the carburetor smelled like varnish. And then I changed the oil. There's the specs on it. 13 horse. Overhead valve, 400E. I changed the oil on it. There's a, if you can see under there, I have to get down on the ground myself. I put these wheels on it just so I could move it around. Things weighs a ton. And under there, right next to where that spider is, which I'm gonna pressure wash off of there after a bit. But your main plug right there, that larger one, is actually about 5 inches long or so when you pull it out of there, and it's got a screen, a very fine steel, stainless, it looks like steel screen mesh on it. Change the oil after the first 20 hours and every 100 after that. Well, that hadn't been done. In fact, I don't know if the oil had ever been changed properly in this thing, and it was just, didn't even look like oil. It just looked like sludge. Just black as coal, and I'm sure the viscosity was no good, which is one reason I'm sure it was kicking off all the time. Then I ended up changing that, and it would still shut off on me, and I didn't know why. I thought, well, maybe I better check the air filter, and I did. And the air filter was this spongy type of an air filter here, like the good old days, the ones we used to put in our motorcycles where you rinse them out with a little, and you can see it's just totally disintegrated, falls apart, and so it wouldn't even do any good to try to wash it. We'd rinse it out with a little light detergent and then squeeze it out real good, let it dry, and then put some motor oil on it, and that one's just disgusting, and I could not find a new one anywhere. So I went online and found one for one of the Honda generators out there. They sent this nice foam one here, a 2-pack of them actually, fairly reasonable, and it was a little bit on the small side, but it was the closest thing I could find online. I called Kubota, they didn't have them. They sent me to an industrial motor outfit, supplier, and then they wouldn't have it, and then the one in Kansas City couldn't do the one in Missouri because it was a territory thing. It's all this, talk about a pain. So I just went and bought that one, this little one right here. It's almost a perfect fit. I don't think anything's gonna squeeze by there, especially when it's pulling air. I think it's probably just about, it's about a 1/2 inch too narrow on the width, but I don't know. I think it was working fine. And when I took out this old one here, you can see how jacked up it is, but when I took it out, this thing still would not run consistently. And you just get those lined up, those little and there it was. And so after I got that new little Honda air filter, I turned on the, I'm going to leave it and see if it'll start right now. I turned on the choke over here on this side about part way, and see what happens. Better choke it all the way. They're making a liar out of me. It ran like a top for 5 minutes before I shut it off. Didn't need the choke. It's got this idler on it, so if there's a load on it, like a saw or something like that, pick it up. Or you're just running it without a load on it, and it just idles like that to save fuel. About a 1999, 2000, whatever, Kubota ARX 6500. I gotta find a little better wheel kit for it. Those little casters I put on there are not really what you need for this thing, but helps me move it around. That's it. Throw in a plug, drain out the gas, take out that little jet port in the bottom of the carburetor, change your oil, pull out that big long mesh filter that it has in it, good fresh gas, maybe an air filter, and there she is, 20 years later.